My name is Mike Silver. I'm a firefighter with the city of Asheville, Station 2, South French Broad in Livingston. It's a hazmat truck. Currently I'm an EMT basic. I'm working on my advanced EMT. I just have to take my state test. And I've been doing this about 4 years now.
My name is Matthew Pride. I'm currently at the downtown station, Station 1, 100 Court Plaza. I've been working this job for 10 years. My truck is rapid intervention, EMTI, which means I can administer more drugs in our field through IV. I currently am a part of the dive team and also multiple certs. I also have a history riding the rescue truck where we need multiple, technical rescue skills that goes along as a prerequisite to ride that truck. So I've rode that truck for 2 years. Been on a ladder for 7, which requires the same certs as well, and then currently riding the engine 2 as well, and my decade of working for the city of Asheville.
First responder is someone who shows up to provide aid physically and mentally and emotionally to anyone in their community that may need it. Be it from a traumatic car accident to a child falling out of a tree or off their bike. Whatever type of physical injuries they may have, we show up and we provide aid until a higher level of care, such as a paramedic, can arrive on scene to either transport that person to the hospital or to take over their care and ensure that they don't need any further care and assistance. The other side of it is a cat stuck in a tree or a storm drain, and elderly woman is distraught. Their baby is somewhere, and we're there to say, hey, it's going to be okay. We're going to take care of them and ask them how their day's doing. Talk to them, build a relationship, let them know that we're here to be your friend, be someone to confide in, check you out physically if you have an ailment, anything, honestly. To a truck show, showing kids about the trade, to going to sporting events and being there for youth football, athletes who might get injured. I mean, what?
Advocacy. Advocacy is the hugest thing, and it's so broad and it's so real because there's an expectation, and we live in that reality of that expectation. So just like the hospitality behind it, we provide that customer service. And that customer service might not, even though we're heading to these calls, as you hear the sirens in the background, that customer service is on mental, psychological, physical elements, which we provide that. And that reality is every day is going to be different. And it just so much as someone's having a fender bender, you don't know what they're going through financially. And a lot of times people
you don't know what's led up to that point.
Yeah, and so a lot of times people go down the rabbit hole of that financial element, and it brings so much, pain or distraught in that day, and easily by a quick hug, making someone feel, secure, giving them hope and faith that their day can get better, that it's just a small, just a little blimp, that they'll be able to get over that hump. Speaks more volumes into the actual care and service that you provide.
What made me go into this work was just to do something more, make me feel like I'm helping somebody. We have one life to live, and just I'm sure how teachers feel. If you can spend that life trying to create a positive impact for others, that's a huge reward. There's a lot of days I come home with a big smile on my face just because I knew what I did the day previous. And there's a lot of days that are pretty fun, adrenaline-based aspects, so you can't turn away from that type of thing.
I fell into this job. I had no idea. Where I was at in life was basically 2 kids, needed to provide, and someone educated me and pointed me in that direction. So I took that discernment and found out that I love the job. The cool thing about this interview is that you have 2 local dudes that were graduated from Asheville High and also live in the city. So this is pretty unique to have that. But with that being said, that involvement from the community, from people who have watched me play sports games, who watched me go off to play college sports, to also be able to give back and have that reward. It's a job that you won't get rich, but you won't go hungry at the same time. But the way that you're paid for is by the events of giving back to the community. From riding to Hillcrest, from PVA, to have that relatability when you hop off a truck and people know that you're safe. I don't think I could give the words about how joyful, how good it feels, especially when you're out in your civilian clothes and
that's huge.
People know you're a part of the community, and that face about it.
It's hard to build a connection when you're trying to maintain a social distance. So with that, a lot of us, we get in there. I can't properly give you a physical assessment staying 6 feet away from you. So I have to get up close. I have to get within your bubble. And sometimes people really need that. That's been a lack of physical communication and relations that people have experienced from this has been just as much of a mental anguish to them as whatever physical ailments they may be going through. So it's made it difficult, but at the end of the day, we're there to help somebody. So you kind of got to step right past all that. Do what's got to be done.
There's rules that have been in place to enforce, to try to keep our safety. Everything that we do is paid for in time. It's all a matter of how quick we get to the truck, how quick we get to that area to respond, how quick that we can make that assessment. So with the pandemic that's in play, a lot of times for that assessment, the dispatcher has to give an assessment over the phone. And just here in this interview, trying to educate people aren't aware of that education on the health system. So if they're not able to give that correct assessment, then we have to stage back. And if we stage back, then that's more time that gets us to them to actually make that physical assessment. And it's one of those things, a risk versus reward. And if we say a risk of life to save a life, or risk a little to save a little. So if it's one of those things where we know, hey man, by this dispatch, it could be it's life threatening, you sort of forego those rules. You have to forego those rules because someone's life could be in that balance.
I mean, that's what you get into this for, right?
Pretty much. And it's so. With that being said, there's just a lot of times it can make the job harder because you need to see people's physical features of the mask when you're wearing it. And then even on top of that, just treating someone like a normal human being, and when they make that interaction, hold up, put a mask on, they're already distraught from the get-go. So that's another element that you have to defeat within that public relation, just to make them feel affirmed and gratified, and oh no, we appreciate y'all. I appreciate you coming up and at least speaking, or assessing. It's just another barrier of communication that we have to hop through. The mask, as far as cardiac arrest, so anything with this, it's an aerosol, so you have to treat it like it's a hazmat. So with it's a hazmat, understanding that there's certain zones to it. So where that patient is, we treat that as the hot zone. And then where our truck is further away, or when we stage back, is more or less the cold zone. So when we have to pay for things in time, so say if it's a cardiac arrest, and before it's confirmed, you have to dress up in the isolation kit. You dress up in the isolation kit, which take a couple minutes. It's pretty cumbersome to go ahead and get on. And then
which is minutes they're losing,
and which is minutes that they're losing from contact. So we all know how perform CPR. So the biggest part about that is you want hands on the chest to pump for the heart. So that's minutes away from them to provide that correct care. Once again, with that, then once you get your glasses, your gloves, you're all decon down, then you can go ahead. So sometimes you're going to be 5-6 minutes in, which is 5-6 minutes of lack of oxygen that's body's receiving, unless there might be a bystander there that is mentally capable, or they want to, or trained, or sometimes people are just so distraught in that reality that they lock down and they cannot even perform CPR. So by the time the call comes through, by the time we respond, it could be 7-8 minutes before you even make physical contact on a person that's doing a cardiac arrest. So that, just in one element in reality, that's 10 minutes of lack of oxygen and blood movement that patient's down. So statistically, odds are not in their favor at that point.
They're pretty grim at that point.
We, within our area, we're accredited, and by that accreditation means that we can get from dispatch less than a minute, and then we can get to our furthest most area within an average of 5 to 6 minutes. So think about, with all that being said, that our furthest most area, and even close to proximity, we're there within 3-4 minutes by that. And then you can already rush in and do what you need to do and assess that patient. So from something that takes 10 minutes, we actually cut that down in half. So within the pandemic, we're adding basically 100% more time instead of cutting it back in half to do your job.
It's tough. I mean, that's the bonds that you form in this industry with each other is crucial to being able to vent, to be able to communicate to each other, to lean on each other and talk. Our families take a lot of that brunt because now our stress levels are a little higher. We're down a little bit more because according to the times that we're having, we're already feeling behind the gun. We feel like we're not able to get that home run anymore. Well, before it was like, man, we did something good today. And now it's like, well, we did what we could. And having those kind of defeats is like a drip. You know, the faucet is just leaking and it kind of wears down on you. But you're going to do what you got to do. You're going to suit up, you're going to boot up and go wherever you need to go. So it's, you kind of got to flip the light switch of turning off what you feel, what you want, and do what you can for somebody else, because I mean, that is the job, is you first, and then we do what we can for you.
When you're trying to give aid, and you know because of a policy that is actually holding you back to render that aid, to give it, and knowing that it's minutes lost and it's time lost, and knowing that someone could be in a critical phase or a critical element in their health, and then I guess if it declines or if it escalates to a worse situation, then it's like that hurts. You know you won't be able to win them all, but you know it really hurts that when you lean on a brother, that when you talk to someone, I'm like, man, it hurts that I could have done more, and you know you could have done more, but because of this policy that's in play, or policies that it holds you back, like that emotional hurt, because we live in a reality. There's an expectation, but we live in the raw reality where we see people in a raw form. There's no color, there's no nothing. You are just there to provide a service, and they're confining in you in the most human element, in the most raw form ever. And for you to have to take that step back and be like, man, I could have done more, but I couldn't. That sucks, especially when you take that home and you try to, you have to put a smile on for your kids, and you have to put a smile on for your wife. But when you see something, or you go through something, which is a traumatic experience, but you don't want to express it over, you're only going to build up that emotional barrier.
Your closet's only so full. You only can put so much in there.
And sometimes, as he knows, that like I've had times of like a phone call from being over there in Hillcrest, and you experience a kid that's getting shot, and you're the first one on scene. You got the whole neighborhood who knows who you are, so they're complete quiet, but you have to put on a show. Sometimes you just break down on scene, and you take those memories with you, and it's good because it's a calling that we are here for. Like, it's our job, and that's our calling as a servant. Like, when you're stepping into it, like, it's not built for everybody. No, it's only for the few.
We haven't felt too much love from our city council. They justify not paying some of our members the same as all the other city employees based off how many hours we work, which isn't a benefit to us. That's a huge cost-saving venture to the city itself. The fact that they don't pay us overtime after 40 hours, we work 56 hours before we get overtime. We work Christmas, we work Easter. We're 365 days, 24 hours a day. We're there for anybody that needs something, period. Be it to get a bee out of their house or a fire. Anything that someone needs, we're there for. But we haven't really felt that same feeling reciprocated to us. Everything's been justified as, well, y'all should be thankful that you work so many hours. We work what, about 800 plus hours, 900 plus hours than every city employee. The lowest paid city employee right now makes $3,000 less annually than we do, working 800 plus hours. 900 plus hours annually than we do.
We work 24-hour shifts. It's a third of our life. Yeah. So if you break that down into 8-hour shifts, we work 364 days of someone that works an 8-hour shift. Now, once again, everything here, compensation, and you pay for everything in time. And that's time that you can't get back. So when you're spending a third of your life Working at a station, that's a third that it's away from my kid. That's contact hours that are away from my family. That's pivotal moments in time that I can't get back. That's ball games that are missed. That's travel situations that are missed because you have to put food on the table. You have to provide. So I've been working for the city for a decade, 10 years. I'm currently, and it's not to throw anybody under the bus, but for 10 years, I'm an engineer. I drive my truck. So I had to go through a competitive process. I had to take classes. You don't get compensated for those classes. So it's basically on a free notion, a free incentive for the city to better the city, and take those classes, go through a competitive process. And I'm just now getting paid what a police officer starting pay is.
Yeah. So PD and us are public servants.
We're public servants, but a police officer right off gate and from recruit school gets paid $17.17 starting off. I've been at the city for 10 years and I'm just now getting paid $17.34 with a competitive process of being an engineer, which is only a select few who drive the truck.
So you've gone through 2 promotions to get to that level.
So senior fireman to engineer. Well, there's also a quote saying that because we work 24-hour shifts, we get the advantage of working a second job, which again, in return, equates for more time being paid.
Yeah.
Now, I work for a county department, and in 1 year, I made $12,000 getting paid $925. The lady who ran my number said that's an average of 133 hours a month I was working on top of full-time here with the city just to make ends meet.
On top of 60 hours a week.
On top of 60 hours working with the city. So, I guess in retrospect, by the time someone works 40 hours, we've pretty close worked by working our second job. 1 week, we're working 2 weeks worth of someone who works a 9 to 5.
Yeah. Another way of looking at it is when you compare us to other city workers, what they get paid due to the hours we put in, we basically work 20 extra weeks a year. There's 52 weeks in the year. But to break down how many hours we put in, it's 20 extra weeks a year to make just $3,000 more than the lowest paid entry-level position in the city of Asheville. So that kind of is a little.
It hurts.
Yeah, it stings a little
bit. It's a jab. Right? I think anytime that it's been for the fire department to try to stick up for themselves, it's sort of been thrown to the wayside. The closest metaphor I can have is because, with this pandemic that's going on, it doesn't change face. I think this type of protest, this momentum has been going on for years. And it's almost like, hey, wait after this pandemic. For this momentum to be going on, it's almost like telling Rosa Parks to sit in the front of the bus on Christmas.
Yeah,
when
that'll be your day.
When the bus route doesn't ride on Christmas.
Yeah. Lean on our city council. Lean on our mayor. Let them know, because at the end of the day, we're paid off of you. Like, y'all's tax dollars pay us. So y'all are basically like our CEOs. And if y'all put that word out there, then management, they have to listen to that. It's your money. We work for you. So if you could just be the voice for us to them, I would feel that would be a great gift to us.
A city can't be built on the back of slaves. So you know that the service that we provide, and you see the city as it's growing, hotels are going up left and right, greenways are going up left and right. They just even passed an ordinance that houses only have to be 8 feet apart. Yeah. So you know that the city's booming and it's growing, which then in return means that the population growth, more people, that means our call volume is going up.
Greatly increased. We're a tourist city. We're not the people that we deal with, 40-50% of them don't live here. So we render services to a lot more.
Within the city providing these amenities to take care of the tourist dollar and take care of even the taxpayers, the citizens here, I think it should be reciprocated and to the civil service, and to the guys that are sitting here working. And it's not just us. We're not even at, the city of Asheville is not even at market value all the way across the board. So from the guys who's doing the street sweepers and the guys who's picking up the trash to the guy, everything from the city, like, we're not even at market value. And even, once again, for us, we're going into a burning building. We are the first ones there. If you are sick, even from the flu, we're the first ones. When you make that contact, we're running into that environment. So we're sharing these environments with you. We're here to take care of y'all. So for y'all, it's the voice. I don't think the public really understands how strong the voice that the people have.
Absolutely.
The amount of momentum that it can create, this wave that we needed to be backed by these citizens who live here, that's the love and support, knowing that the fight that we've been fighting for some time, and the support that we may need, many hands make light work. We've been carrying this load for a long time. We need y'all's hands as well to go ahead and lift us up in a time of need, in the hardest time. So when things get tough and when things get rough, you always have that one call where it's like, we got them, and that's what brings you back to keep on working. So I just ask for that mentality and that energy to be reciprocated back into us, invested back into us, and that's a way that you can show that investment.